Testify, but we ain't gonna believe nothing you say. We'll give you the due process, which is the appearance of due process. Police can get up there and get caught in all kinds of lies. They can plead the fifth. They can do all these other things. We don't want to look at their checkered past. But what we're going to say is this. We don't think you're credible. A mama come to court, get on the witness stand and say, I was at the police station. They wouldn't let me see my son. I heard this stuff going on. We don't think you're credible. That happened in so many of these cases, it's ridiculous. Where women left their job or left their home, went down to the police station to see about their son or daughter, went to court, told the judge what they heard and saw, and the judge didn't believe it. So we're living in a situation where individuals can pull that on us. We can't testify against people. Oh, we can't do that now. You guys got some rights. So what we're going to do, we're going to let you get on the witness stand. We're going to allow you to testify. And then we're going to let you get off, and then we're going to rule in favor of the police. We're not even going to consider the fact that they were in peace. We're not going to consider the fact with Dan Young and Harold Hill, we're not going to consider the fact that there was DNA that didn't match them. It was inconclusive.
Yeah, and I'd like to say this, since you mentioned that right there too. Yes, like how, like the police beat out my brother I. Because, and the judge, and then on the incident he in there now is because he went after the police beat up his eye, they arrested him, and he had to get the eye drop in his eye. He only got one, so they had to put it in one eye and wait 15 minutes for the other eye. So the officer didn't want to wait well on my brother. So he got the tussling, him and my brother got the tussling. And they fell against on the nurse. The nurse got stuck with a needle and they charged my brother with attempted murder. Now when he went to court, he pleaded not guilty because he's not guilty. Who would plead guilty to attempted murder? You know? So he was not guilty. He pleaded not guilty and the judge told him if he don't plead guilty, gave him like 40, 50, life, gave him life. He done had spine surgery, he can't walk in the wheelchair. I just lost one of my other brothers. And then they just did the Joe Coleman medical thing from him, and guess what? We went there, the state field didn't even send him the medical papers. So now I get this email saying that, okay, it's been denied. Where's the prognosis, the diagnosis, and what's going on there? Because they failed when he could have probably been at home now. And this just happened like 2 weeks ago. Had you not going to do your job, but you didn't pay, to forward the mail to Springfield. It's crazy.
At the end of the day, this trauma translates down generations after generations after generations. Just like any other crime. Police crime translates down generations like anything else. But we got action to take. We can start here, and we can start working on every last one of these bogus judges that's in Cook County, that's running for election this time. If we're going to change it, we got to be a part of it. We can't sit on the sideline and argue with people who ain't going to vote about why the process works. I want to explain something to people that a lot of people get twisted. Not saying that we ignorant, but I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people got it misunderstood. All right? They say that, why should I vote? My vote ain't going to count. Because George Bush got the popular vote. I mean, what was the guy he ran against?
Al Gore.
Al Gore, thank you. Al Gore got the popular vote, but Bush won. And that's happened all the time. That is national federal elections where they have electoral college. In order to win that election, you have to get the most delegates, meaning that you have to win the states that have the highest delegates. You can win a lot of small states that got little delegates, right? That's not going to mean that you're going to win the actual election. That applies to federal elections who people who want to apply that they vote don't count. That's not possible in local elections. There is no electoral college. There is nobody to stand in front of you and circumvent or impede your vote. Only person that can impede your vote is you. Everybody vote count in a local election. From governor, congressman, alderman, judge, commissioner, whatever. So in order to be Cook County State's attorney, you got to have the most votes. Point blank, period. That's just what it is. So there is no process in the city of Chicago where we get the most votes for a particular candidate, we're not going to win. That's not the case. So this is not a situation where individuals can say, well, my vote don't count. It do. Particularly in local elections. So we don't want people to take that attitude, and for people to say that to you, you know the solution now. You understand the solution. What we have to do is we have to learn how to vote issue. And we have to know what the issue is we're voting for, and we have to know why we're voting for that issue. Because nobody is going to put you in a situation where they have a paradigm shift in your life where every dream that you ever wanted to come true just came true in one election. But what we don't want to do is keep on waiting decade after decade, year after year to get this solution solved. This stuff been going on since 1971.
So we need to, like we here today, all of us is here today. We're gonna have to, let me say this, how can we, and I'm not just saying, okay, well you tell somebody, you tell someone, the words that you're saying right now, we need the community, everybody, we need something because people don't know.
Right.
It ain't like, I'm gonna tell you, somebody, no, we need to be like every other nationality and get our peoples together, one way or another. Buses, coffee, sandwiches, water, speaking to them, literature and everything, letting them know that somebody cares. Because we're not getting nowhere just like this room full right here. And we not out there with buses, cold water, coffee, a sandwich for them. Our people are starving, don't have nowhere to live, and they can't even communicate, and nobody's even caring, telling them nothing. They don't even know what the hell is going on.
That's why you here.
No, I know, but like I said, I can't do it, and everybody in this room, we need to find out how to just get together and do it like, did you see
Exactly, yeah.
out there when that came from nowhere? I'm saying us need to try to figure out a way, not me trying to say, oh, okay, because I speak, just trying to, speak all the time. Live here, live there when I'm talking about. I'm saying so how we could just get our people.
The people that you sitting in this room with,
It take more than us.
the people that you sitting here in this room with support people. They have organizations. They the ones that brought the Palestinian movement together. They help with that. Just because you're not sitting in a room full of Palestinians, don't mean that you're not sitting in the room with people who put the Palestinian movement together.
I understand.
So to answer your question,
was played a part of it, we did, but I'm not talking about that.
I know you're not.
I'm talking about mugs. I was just using that as an example.
Talking about who?
How they got together, I just knew it was a lot of them.
Yeah.
So okay, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, and the solution to the answer to your question is, this is not a public forum. This was designed to speak to particular people.
Okay.
People who have organizations, people who network with other people, people who have been victimized by the system, torture victims, exonerees, right? And families of those people, because we want all these people to band together and to be that atomic bomb that go out and do exactly the work you just mentioned.
Yeah,
That's what the purpose of this is. That's why there's no sign outside inviting the public in. That's why there wasn't no flyers put out like that. It's particular people in this room who have already been fighting this issue, who already work together on a daily basis.
Okay, information for the organization.
Exactly.
Okay.
My job is to put these people who are already in the coalition, to put them in front of this nominee and let him explain to them what he's going to do about this issue. Not the city budget, not this fraud and that fraud, not fixing the Chicago Police Department, I'm not concerned about all of that. What I'm concerned about is individuals dying in prison for crimes that they didn't do. Individuals dying in prison for being framed about crimes. We don't know if they did it or not. And them not being able to ever get a fair trial because we got individuals impeding their ability to get that. That's what I'm concerned about. So I've told many people that this was going to be slightly private. Because from this point, we got until November to launch tentacles out in society and get 10, 20 people to get on this same page when election time comes and get them votes in. If this individual can earn your vote. I'm not up here to try to get his vote for you. Because he is his own man. I'm up here because I had a pride to sit down with this man, with other people, and we discussed this matter. And this man was interested in it, he knew about it, and he didn't never like it in the first place. He understands what's going on. As I said in the very beginning, he is not a politician. He's not a career prosecutor. He's a career civil rights lawyer. That makes the whole difference. And not to bring the racial component in it like it's the total issue, but he's not Irish. He's Italian. Which means that we don't have to worry about him piling around with these individuals trying to get him to go their way because they got something in common. Because that has been a major issue in the city of Chicago. That was what they didn't get out of Kim Foxx. They didn't have that in common. It was just the opposite. So that's the reason why we need individuals to listen to what's going on, listen what you're being offered on this issue. Because, as far as I'm concerned, all the years I was in prison, the Alliance, the Torture Justice Center, before it became a Torture Justice Center, where Mark Clemens was just standing out there in front of the county jail with signs, the Enough is Enough organization, the campaign to end death row, and all these other different organizations, this is what they was complaining about, and this is what ain't been solved. We don't need nobody else coming to that county jail after doing 30-something years in prison, getting on the witness stand, saying something that they've been living every day of their life, and that they just said 30 years ago for somebody to look them in their face and send them back to prison. When you got these guys, Chicago police, that have been investigated by the FBI several times, got over 30-something wrongful convictions, they'll plead the fifth time and time and time again, and they believable? But something that you've been saying, you ain't never pled the fifth. You ain't never been involved in torturing nobody, victimizing nobody, doing none of that. You can't be believed. That's what we're dealing with here. And that's what we're trying to create in here. We're trying to create an atomic bomb in here. That's what we're trying to create. Because the only way we're going to change what's going on in Cook County, we need an individual who ain't going to say yes to it. That's right. And we got an individual in office who's going to say yes to it. Somebody who already been mixed up into the same things that's been plaguing our heart and been a cancer in our system for decades. We put that person in office, we got the same old thing and everything. All the progress we made have been set back 20 years.
Say that one more time.
It's been set back. If you put this woman in here who is a daily Democrat, not a prep-winkle Democrat, somebody who's been involved in wrongful convictions herself personally, ain't took responsibility in any kind of way for it. Ain't apologizing in a sense that regretful for what they did. Might add you, the same 11-year-old child she did this to committed suicide.
Lock her up, really.
So we're talking about trauma after trauma that we're not prepared to go through no more.
All right, man.
We are not prepared to relive this nightmare over and over, year after year, decade after decade. You know how many mothers have went to their graves fighting for their sons in these prisons on this issue. There's very few of them still alive. We're not begging these people to do nothing for us no more. We need to vote issue. We need to quit checking these things down, these ballots, simply because they on a particular side or a particular name, this person bought a particular party. Individuals need to be earning our vote, not getting it. If you're not going to tell me what you're going to do about this particular issue, you don't get my vote, period. Because this is what's concerning me. And I believe that everybody should vote that way. Because we're not getting nothing out of this process. We're not getting anything out of this process. If you go another 6 years, or anybody in this room go another 6 years, another 20 years, or another 10 years, would they people sitting in prison based on these detectives' testimony and their credibility? Then we don't need to be doing anything. We might as well keep on voting for the same people who gonna plague us by keeping our people locked up for something that we know that these Chicago police had a history of doing.
Mm-hmm. Like we being forced to vote.
You know, we don't need to be doing stuff based on party lines. What I'm demonstrating is we don't want to traditionally do something that's not affecting change in our lives.
There you go.
You want to spend $2 billion on a state-of-the-art prison, and I got to need a wheeling lineman on my car because I can't drive down no street in the city of Chicago without hitting 15 or 100 potholes from block to block. And that's almost literally spoken. It's figuratively on 100 per block, but that's almost literally spoken that we need a state-of-the-art state-built prison right now. We don't need our roads fixed. This is what I mean by voting issue. I don't know, I'm going to say it again before I'm going to let this brother talk and another brother. I don't know nobody who's asked for that. But I know people who've been asking for this for decades. And they ain't got it. These people making money on this stuff. They got a team of special prosecutors that are not state's attorney that's charging the county on each one of these cases that they get. And that stuff racking up into the millions, 7 to 8 millions of dollars. A law firm, one law firm. It's in their best interest to keep these guys in prison, keep them litigating these cases, so they can take that voucher to the judge, let the judge sign it, and charge the county hundreds of thousands of dollars to come to court. We're not getting the chop of that bread. But we need to know about it, though. So, on that note, I want to say that it's very important that we not let anybody change the narrative and not put context on top of context. If you offer something that you think is a fair deal, you should take it. Because it's not coming from free. It's coming from death. It's coming from people being victimized by crimes, people being victimized by the police, and our blood, sweat, tears, and mental anguish that went in all this. That's what we paid for this moment, and any other moment that we get about getting somebody out of prisons that ain't supposed to be there. That's what we get. So this ain't for free. This ain't pay to play. We paid already in blood and suffering. The number of people, it's more people that I know whose parents died in prison while they was fighting this issue than in this room. Knowing that they suffered. I know one of them who died, his mother died, father died first, but his mother died in prison, knowing that her son was on the couch while she was out there watching the whole thing go on. So she died knowing that her son wasn't involved. Then a week later, They lock him up, and he go through 30-something years in prison. And the only way he can get out is if he take a deal to plead guilty to something. But his co-defendant sat maybe 5 more years, James Gibson, and he free. The case that they framed James Gibson on, his co-defendant's mama was out there watching what was going on while her son was in the house sleeping on the couch. She died in prison knowing that she couldn't do nothing for her son. So that's what we got invested in. This issue called this nominee, candidate for Cook County State's Attorney in. That's what we got invested in this issue. It's the same thing with anybody that's been advocating for these people who've been getting up every morning, reading all these documents, doing all these press conferences, doing all these interviews, taking all these phone calls, driving to all these different places for as long as they've been doing it. That's what we do.
Right now.
Brother George. This brother here, this brother George Anderson, they tried to lock this brother right back up. After not doing anything, just conceding on the case, not defending it, not doing anything, but they want to file the same special prosecution. It's trying to keep his litigation going by just filing strong documents in court to try to put him back in jail. And they putting your money in their pocket.
They trying to put me in jail.
Yeah, they putting your money in their pocket. They putting everybody in our community, everybody in society's money in their pocket to try to put people in jail who are already free, who done already proved they was tortured. Judges done signed off on it. The appellate courts done ruled on it. You got somebody at the smallest, bottomless level, the smallest level in the system, filing stuff to try to put somebody in jail. Knowing that they can't put you in jail, just doing something to get money.
I don't want to draw y'all out in a long story, but my story is very long. I did 32 years for something I had nothing to do with. I was watching it on TV as well. And it took me this long to get out. I've been out 15 months. And those special prosecutors he talking about, they done made $20 million off my case alone. Just my case.
Wow.
Not counting all the other 50 to 100 they got, you know. But it's gonna work itself out, you know. But
How'd you get out?
the appellate court judges told them that, you know, they see the fraud in my case. They wanted to know why it took so long for my case to get to them. It took 25 years just for my case to get to them. And they hear it. And they reversed my case. They threw out all my convictions. I had 6 natural lives. And they threw out all my convictions. And I was waiting for a new trial. I got a call one day from my attorneys, and they was really calling me about something else. But I heard everybody in the office hollering and screaming, saying, "This has never happened, this has never happened." And so my lawyer told me to hold on. So I held on. And when he come back to the telephone, he told me, he said, "We just got an order from the appellate court to release you immediately." I cried right then and there. I cried. It's been a long journey.
I know,
I've
32
been-
years, that's too long.
Yeah. I've been working with Clayborn, working with Cordell. You know, we all been doing what we need to do to try to get home to our families. I'm one of those ones that my mother died in while I was in prison. And the doctor told my sister that she was heartbroken. She didn't have nothing wrong with her, she just gave up the will to live. Because she knew I ain't did nothing, you know. And I know it's bad for a parent to say, you know, that they took my good boy. My mother had 4 boys, and for my mother to say that she wished they would have took one of her other boys and they took me, it really hurt her. You know?
What was your mother's name?
Charlie Anderson,
Charlie Anderson.
yeah. But, like
I
you
want to
said,
say something. My name's Ellen Corley, and I was working with the Chicago Alliance Against Racist Political Repression. It started about 5 or 10 years ago, and we had a list, and your name was on the list. We picked, one would pick Clayborn Smith, one would pick George Anderson, you know, one picked Gerald Reed, you know, and we advocated. The mothers were there, and Rosemary Kate, I don't know if her son's gotten out, but I remember your name, but my name's Ellen Anderson Corley, and you know, there's a book, a 300-page book, that the patterns and practices of, you know, crime in Chicago. I actually wrote a kind of a press release, sent it around today, and I should put a link onto it, but you know, you're talking about how to organize this, and you know, the Chicago Alliance Against Racist Political Repression has been doing it for 53 years. It started with mothers who, you know, wrongfully convicted. You know, Frank Chapman was wrongfully convicted. Angela Davis was wrongfully convicted out in California. So they organized Josephine Wyatt and Charlene, I forget her name, Wyatt, I think, and they started organizing to get their sons out of jail. And so I started researching it, and yeah, I know. Well, I'm just saying that I'm glad to meet you. Okay. Yeah.
We need to be globally empowered politically, economically, socially, among other things. A book entitled by the name Crook County by Nicole Gonzalez Van Cleef spoke about the black sites and what happened. And if you can further speak about your trauma, brother, King.
but like I said, it's been rough, but you know, I've been making it work, you know. They technically they hung me.
Strange fruit.
They hung me, and while they had me hanging, they put a telephone book on my side and beat me in the side. And from that, they knocked my kidney loose. So it took them almost a year to figure out what was wrong with me. But then when they figured out what was wrong with me, they showed me that my kidney was hanging back like a string. And my urine was going into my system. So I was literally dying every day. And they give me antibiotics and they clear up until they really figured out. But Chicago police ain't right, you know, and these candidates that's running for office ain't right. They know about this, you know, and I haven't said nothing to anybody. I haven't given no speeches. I don't talk to people. I don't even go to events like this. But Clayborn asked me to come, so I came. Well, they'll ask me to come. I don't like to relive the trauma. And when I talk about it, it's real painful. So I just try to stay out the way, stay to myself. I don't have friends. I can't do crowds. You know, this is the first crowd I did since I've been home. But
I bless you.
thank you.
I pray that they pay for what they done to you.
Well,
I pray that
I pray
no
every day
matter what, I
that
just
happen.
pray that they be taken
Yeah.
care of for doing not only you, our people, and other people. Like what's wrong is not right, and how dare you take away people's lives? How dare you do that?
Bring home our
They've got immunity
innocent
from
American
prosecution.
citizens.
But the whole thing about it is, state's attorneys, the police, some of the judges, they knew I didn't do nothing. My co-defendant been telling them for 32 years I had nothing to do with it. Have nothing to do with it, but yet they still won't let me go. But it's been a learning experience. I'm still sane, you know. I saw a lot of guys got out and they ain't wrapped too tight no more, but you know.
Been there too long.
Yeah. Well, I ain't gonna say been there too long, cause too long is too long. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it's just the mind can only take so much, and some people's minds are stronger than others.
And one day is too long when you ain't eating.
That's right.
Right.
And then,
It's torture.
you have to be remindful about certain things. You know, a lot of guys in jail like to watch TV and sports and all that. I did none of that. I had TV, radio, did none of that. I want to go home. I didn't go to the yard. I didn't do none of that.
Wow.
I stayed in the cell. I went to work, came back, and got back into the paperwork.
What were they just selected to beat you?
No, yeah, because I wouldn't talk to him. I couldn't talk to him about something I didn't have no knowledge about. And my co-defendant, he told me one day, he said, let me tell you what happened. I said, I don't want to know. He said, why? I said, because if they ever give me a lie detector test, I won't know for real. But he thought it was strange, but I was for real. Because if it's in your mind, they're going to pull it out. They're going to pull it out. But he's home too. He had to take a deal. And I told him to wait. But he couldn't wait. But I understand his reason. He suffered from multiple sclerosis. They wasn't medicating him right. So, you know, I understand that. But he was tortured as well. But I don't know.
How many people do we think are wrongfully convicted in prison? Does
Ain't
anybody-
no telling.
Numbers don't lie. This is all convention capital of the world right here.
Right here.
I've heard 1/3 of the people in prison were innocent. That was Laura Caldwell, who was a lawyer for this. That was her estimate, but they don't count. They don't tell us how many.
They're not gonna tell you. They get paid. Every person that's in jail, they get paid every year for that person. Not hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars.
NFL on the portion.
Yeah. Everybody that invested in the Department of Corrections stock. Because it's good money.
And that it's against the blue wall of silence to say anything, right? I think they'd be targeted if they did try to expose internal investigations of this process. That Invisible Institute exposed that. The woman who was exposing it, they said, you've got to quit. They're going to shoot you in the back if you keep blowing the whistle on this corrupt pattern and practice.
Somebody needs to go with
They're afraid to, you know, they're silenced. And that the ones who tell the truth
It's power in
get
me.
put in there.
It's power in me.
It's,
All she had to do was get out and get with the right people. They would have protected her. It's power in me. The police only do what you let them do. Now, if they get in your head to make you think that they gonna kill you, then that's in your head.
yeah, well, that's the good thing about Cordell and Clayborn and, you know, you guys, I think you help each other a lot, right,
Absolutely.
in prison. And Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, all the ones that come before, you know, are role models for standing up against injustice.
Actually, we didn't have role models. We was our own role models. We had to teach ourselves. When he went to jail, he didn't know no law. When Clayborn went to jail, he didn't know no law. When I went to jail, I didn't know no law. I did my first post-conviction, and when I let Clayborn see it, he said, George, it's good. He said, but it's not good enough. He said, you got to tell what they did.
Still sharp.
And when he said that, I went in. And the next time I took it back to him, he said, it's really good. But you know me. You know me. It's good though, but you know me. I'm gonna have some criticism somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But from that, I've learned. I've learned. Now, a few months ago, they reinstated my conviction, my sentence, everything. So I had to go back at them again. And 2 weeks ago, they took my sentence and my conviction and all that back. Because I knew the right things to say. You know? And actually, I didn't even know that they had took it back until people started calling me. Cordell called me and said, man, why you didn't tell me, big brother, they took your stuff back? I said, man, I didn't know. He said, your lawyers ain't got with you? I said, no. After I talked to him, an hour later, my lawyer called me. But they was actually trying to lock me back up. They wanted me back in jail.
So, when you said they reinstated your conviction, who, the state's attorney,
The
state of
Illinois Supreme Court. They told them to vacate their previous order and take a look at my case under Fair. This guy named Duro Fair, under his case. They had just ruled on his case. And they sent my case back to the appellate court and told them to take a look at my case under Fair. But Fair, the problem with Fair was everything they said in Fair, he didn't do the right things. But when the appellate court took my case and Fair's case and put it together, they said Anderson did everything that Fair didn't do.
So, like when, like they say, unless your sentence is totally vacated and they, because they have a chance to appeal your release, is that right?
Right, that's what they
Okay,
did.
so unless it's totally vacated, they really can investigate it and recharge you and put you back in jail, in prison.
Yes.
And you have to like almost try the whole case all over, or you just,
Well, you don't try the case all over. What they did in my situation was the appellate court said I shouldn't have never been in jail. For
okay.
one. And they threw out my conviction. They threw out my sentence. They threw out the statements that they forced me to sign. I never gave a statement. I just signed some papers. And once I did that, then that started to change the events. Okay, now, once my stuff really reached the appellate court, the truth about everything, they threw everything out. But these state's attorneys that we talking about, special prosecutors, they appealed to the Illinois Supreme Court. And the Illinois Supreme Court, they didn't give no opinion as far as what's happening in my case. They give no opinion on what happened in my case. They just said, take a look at it under Fair.
Okay.
That's it. And then the appellate judge just said, they did not ask us to change our opinion. They just told us to take a look at it. So the appellate courts, they reinstated my, they took the conviction and all that back again. So now, more likely, special prosecutors is gonna try to appeal it again. But I don't see them going nowhere, for the simple fact is, before your case go to the Illinois Supreme Court, there's a panel of lawyers that look at the cases before they go to the court. And once they see it, this is my belief, I don't believe that they're gonna give it to the Illinois Supreme Court. Even if they do, even if they don't, then technically I got a new trial. And they can't go to trial without no witnesses against me. I don't have any witnesses. So now they're trying to flip my co-defendant to tell a lie, which he would never do. But that's what type of games they play.
Thank you.
Okay, thank y'all too.
All right, we're gonna keep this some kind of way simple. I asked everybody to come here today to listen to the man that's about to step up. And I'm gonna keep this hardcore. It's his responsibility to earn your endorsement. He got mine. But he sat down at the table with me We had a very candid conversation. And I know that there'll be some questions asked, and I hope y'all ask a lot of questions. I hope those questions are about the reason why we here. This man has seen a lot of doubt. He's seen a lot of cases. He's seen a lot of reversals. He's seen a lot of wrongful convictions. He's seen a lot of DNA exoneration. There's an article back there on that poster of him disputing with Cook County about bringing in outsiders to deal with this issue when they should have been dealing with him in a particular way here, standing with Alderman Brookins and others. This man is not new to this conversation. So I'm hoping that y'all ask him hard questions. I hope he's able to answer those questions. And I'm hoping that he's able to earn your endorsement. And I'm hoping that all of us go out and get our families and everybody we know to help us get our people a new trial. Let's step out here again. You got round tables for everybody to be able to share. So please, turn your attention back and forth.
Seems like we have to get everybody to be postured here. I do want to thank Johnny, who's been joining us here. 31 also years. How many years were you? 30 plus. First of all, I do want to thank you for organizing this and everybody else who put this together today. Those of you that are families and victims of wrongful convictions, my heart and my wife, we understand. We can't understand the pain of being separated for such a long period of time. You know, my name is Bob Fioretti, and I want to be your state's attorney. I'm a longtime civil rights attorney. My entire legal career has been devoted towards fighting to ensure that nobody's civil rights are trampled. This won't change when I am the state's attorney. And it feels natural to come to a group like this, exonerees, their families, their members of their families, their friends, and supporters, to ask for your votes. As part of my civil rights practice, I successfully represented and helped free a wrongfully convicted young man, an African-American teenager who was convicted. 17 years old, couldn't read or write, signed some confession. They gave him 71 years for rapes that he did not commit. And the DNA later proved it. Now, this is in direct contrast to my opponent. As you heard the references that were made to her, at least in one of she was involved at least in one of the exoneration cases while she was a prosecutor. My opponent railroaded an 11-year-old African-American child using a coerced confession without a parent, attorney, as many of you know, or guardian has to be present, or somebody from the juvenile justice representative during that questioning. You know, there were multiple discrepancies in the facts of the case versus the coerced confession, as you might expect. My opponent refused to recognize these as discrepancies during the course of the trial or alert the judge, which she's under an obligation to do. Instead, she plods full speed ahead, intent on locking up the child. During the trial, she called this innocent child a whole new breed of criminal. As if this wrongful conviction and racist rhetoric wasn't bad enough, asked about the case during the primary, she said, well, she refused to apologize. In fact, she doubled down on her malfeasance, saying she did nothing wrong, and then instead blamed the child's public defender. She couldn't be more wrong about the individual case and about what this office is about. She had a duty to disclose any problems with the interview or the evidence, as many of you know, to the judge in the case. As prosecutors, our job is and can't be simply to rack up as many wins, and lock them up. Instead, it really is, and move on to the next case. Our job is to achieve justice. Whether a defendant is guilty or innocent, each and every one must be afforded due process under the law, under our Constitution, under the case law, which every American is entitled. Make no mistake about it, as a state's attorney, I'm going to be tough on violent crime, but I also will be fair. I make two promises. If someone murders your son, carjacks your wife, rapes your daughter, assaults your grandmother, or breaks into your home, I will be merciless in pursuing justice for the victim. But I can also promise that I will never railroad an 11-year-old child, or anyone for that matter. As I have all my adult life, I will make my civil rights record a priority for every resident in Cook County. It has been my life's work, and this won't change no matter what. I am a strong supporter of law enforcement. I make no bones about it. But let's face the facts. Nobody is perfect. If there are mistakes made during an arrest, or taking a confession, or any step of the legal process, we must acknowledge it. In addition to being the right thing to do, there is also solid law enforcement reasons for doing so. It does not do any good, including the victim, to convict the wrong person of a crime. From a financial standpoint, it makes no sense to keep paying literally hundreds of millions of dollars to defend wrongful convictions. Finally, in the event that there is a bad cop, let's face it, good cops hate them, and the bad cops are limited. They're few and far between. It will be my intention when elected that in specific cases where it has been adjudged that a prisoner was tortured into making a false confession or incriminating a statement, and to that interrogation was conducted by a law enforcement officer with a documented, adjudicated history of being involved in wrongful confessions, we will not oppose new trials for the defendant, barring extraordinary circumstances. Some of the new trials may still produce a guilty verdict, but that the new trial will grant the defendants the due process of a fair trial that they were first denied. In addition to being the right thing to do, it also makes sense to the taxpayer. It is fiscally irresponsible to keep pouring millions of dollars of good money after bad, tens of millions of dollars to fight new trials, regardless of the ultimate outcome for those defendants in cases where judges already ruled that the confessions were false. That is what I believe, and as state's attorney, that is what I'm going to do. I need your support. I need your help. I need you to spread the word. I am not a multi-millionaire like my opponent, her and her husband. Multi-millionaires that can do whatever they want. I'm here to fight for justice, to fight for our people, and to make sure that people have a fair trial for everyone. Thank you for being here today, and I do appreciate you listening to me for these few minutes.
I'm sure we're going to be on whatever limited time, so we're going to use the rest of this time for anybody that asks this candidate questions that they would like to ask. Whenever you finish, just pass the mic around.
Um,
Please let them know who you are and who you represent. Let them know you're better.
Yeah, indeed.
Good afternoon,
I
Mr.
think this,
President.
no, can you hear me out of there? No,
I
no.
can.
Okay, good.
My name is Cassandra Greeley. I am the founder of the Nicholas Lee Foundation. My husband was the third person to die of COVID at the Cook County Jail. I started this fight from Champaign.
Take your time, sister. Take your time.
I want to let you know that it doesn't take a lot of money to win this battle. Brandon Johnson won from People Power, and you can too. I fight for countless men that's innocent, like Deshaun Gardner. It's a lot of men that's suffering, and I feel innocent. What I wanna ask you, sir, is first of all, I fought for something that's called the Pretrial Fairness Act. My husband died of pretrial detainee. He wasn't found guilty of anything, and he suffered and died. People like Jason Bengay that shot Laquan McDonald 16 times. And he received 3 years for shooting his sister.
Speak
Yeah,
loud.
they want to hear the green voice.
We can't hear you.
He shot this young boy on camera 16 times, but because he was a Chicago police officer, he received 3 years in jail in IDLC. My husband did more time as a pretrial detainee than he did for murder. That wasn't right. So, as a state's attorney, if you become a state's attorney, it's things like that that need to stop. And I'm just asking you, how do you feel about the pretrial? Like, are you a supporter of the pretrial? How do you feel?
You say the police, what?
I'm saying, I'm a supporter. We fought for it to end, I'm sorry, I'm living on this.
Don't worry, take your time.
We fought to end cash money bill. How did you feel about that? We fought to end cash money bill here in Illinois.
Possibly addressing the Safety Act, cash money bill.
How did you
That was
feel?
us.
I originally, had, I was in favor. Let me just tell you. It was, but I'm seeing what's happening with a lot of the, migrant population that really are overcoming our jail system, and the arrest and what's happening. It was there to ensure some sort of, fairness and making sure that the person shows up for trial. I think that the experiment is still out in terms of what's happening. You know, on some of the cases on the violent crimes, we definitely get, they took away, I have always said, they took away the discretion of the judge by this universal approach. I want to restore the discretion of the judge, first and foremost. I think that's important, what we need to do. And my heart goes out to you on everything else on what you said.
Thank you, sir. One last question about the discretion of the judge for the.
Just speak to the mic.
With that being said, we had something that we were fighting for to add to with the discretion of the judge. It's a gigolo list for the police officers, the wrongdoing of the police officers that they didn't allow us to add. It's a list called the gigolo list where when a police officer has been found to do wrongdoing, they're added to a no-call list. They didn't allow us to add this to the pretrial detention list. Will you allow, if people, like common people like us, if we're able to prove to the state's attorney that these police officers have been found guilty of wrongdoing, of lying, would you allow, if you become the state's attorney, if it's proven to you, to your office, that police officers have been found guilty countless times of lying, of wrongdoing, would you allow your office to add these police officers to this gigolo list? Would you approve that?
If you have all the verifications.
If you have all the verifications.
You know, hey,
That's his mic.
good, thank you.
Before you answer that question, if you look back there on that board, we have an officer still on the force with this checking pad.
Mhm.
So these questions are relevant to officers that's on the force who have a clear history of wrongful convictions, been sued, the city been paying out money, same stuff that you saying is causing this perpetual leak of finances from a conservative perspective. Stuff like this. This man is still on the force.
What action would you take?
And
Well, look what they did with Ronald Watts. His first case is going to trial, or they may settle it right now. How many wrongful convictions has he been involved in? Over 120? So it depends at what point is it documented that this individual, but let's face facts. Somebody like him should not be on the force. 2, he should never be able to testify, and 3, we should be looking at each and every arrest that he ever made. It's interesting, the question that was asked to way in the back by the woman, how many wrongful convictions people are in. Have you ever watched some of the old, I like watching the old, black and white, cowboy pictures. Rifleman, have gun will travel, all that. They always talk about somebody was wrongfully convicted in some time in the course of the series. There was a movie that Alfred Hitchcock did in about 1953. And everybody said he would appear in the movies at some point. Well, he starts off this movie about a true story, about an Italian, and we can go through, in case you don't know the history, my dad came off the boat himself, but about a man who was wrongfully convicted in a lineup out of all the places. I have mixed feelings on it. I believe in our system, but we need to impose safeguards for our people. For the state's attorney not only represents the people of the state of Illinois and the victim, but at the same time, they have to be alerted to and in a sense represent the defendant, because we cannot violate that individual's rights. And so if we use tainted witnesses, if we use tainted people, then we are violating our own oath of office. And we can't be doing that.
Mr. Theoretic, when you look and when you think about it, when we are the biggest exoneration capital, we're the exoneration capital, the state, we have the biggest exoneration. So that means that, that means that we have failed. Illinois, we have went wrong somewhere.
Failed.
So,
They
they failed us. So, we don't trust the system. The system failed me. I made 132 verifiable phone calls to try to save my husband. And Eileen Burke O'Neill had the audacity to tell me when I met with her that she thinks that it would be in my interest that I should work with Tom Dart instead of against him. That's an insult to me. This man, I feel, killed my husband. So I don't think it's in my best interest to work with him.
I know I didn't apply for an appellate court position and pay over $143,000 to be unopposed and give it to the other burg and to give it to Madigan and the Democratic Party to be nominated for an unopposed position on the appellate court. I don't see any change in my opponent from what she's gonna do.
I don't either. That's why I'm here, because, but I do understand what you're saying, but you have to understand that in my community, we don't have trust. We don't have trust because look at all these exonerations. They failed us.
I know, I'm not gonna say I know what you mean, but I originally moved to the west side, you know, and I've lived on the west side. Now the West Loop, as it's become, and I understand. When I was first elected alderman, my ward was 76% African American. It was a historic black ward, and I was such a voice for change and what to do that they gerrymandered me up north, and I said no. So I understand what's happening. I understand when we talk about. I brought 8,000 jobs to my ward. And I made sure that they hired from my ward. Because what I do believe that if people are working 8 hours a day at a livable wage, they don't have time to commit crimes. They have time to devote to their families. They have time to make sure their kids are educated. They make sure that they can get things done. We don't have that.
Our loved ones are on the court date after court date. Can you tell us which cases you've been looking into thus far? So that if you step into this office, you can hit the ground running where our loved ones can come home.
A few years ago, I had to sue Governor Rauner for about 23 exonerees who weren't getting paid. I do have other cases that have come to me that I do look at.
Which ones lately have you looked at?
Lately, I have. To be quite frank, I have not.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Fiorelli. Hold on, I'm sorry. We're gonna have some order with this. This man has the mic. When he finished, the next person hand, I will come to you and you can address the mic.
Mr. Fiorelli, I'm Dr. Cesare Moore. I'm one of those guys who also get 31 years in prison. I have co-defendants who are still in prison, circling on their 32nd year now. These bogus police officers are simply the tumors that let us know about the systemic cancer that created this in the first place. You just said a minute ago that you still believe in the system. My question becomes, is this just a matter of certain police officers on a particular list name comes up attached to cases? Are we looking at individuals or are we looking at the problem? Be it Joe, Bob, Billy, or Sue, the problem remains. The names are interchangeable regardless of the particular institution that does it. What are you focused on? The simplicity of these tumors, or are you trying to actually eradicate the cancer that can move from CPD, the state police, Harvey, et cetera, That's the real issue. It's not a matter of bunch of freaking interchangeable names. Those interchangeable names are important.
No, I think I understand your question, but I think it's a combination of both. It is individuals, but coupled with what the question that she was saying, at the same time, that somehow it permeates through a system. And we need to change the philosophy of the system. And we need to stand up as I started with my civil rights record, to make sure that we ensure everybody's constitutional rights. And if we find those that are police officers doing certain wrongs or what they may be doing and violating, then we should take action on that too.
So you are looking for the wrongs, not just the names.
Correct.
Hello, my name is Norma, and glad to have you here. I'm glad that Clayborn invited me. My nephew was wrongfully convicted to 46 years. And everyone knew, even the judge, the detective, everyone knew that he's innocent, okay? And there's so many cases like this that I've learned about since I've been with organization such as Carver. And so these are the detectives here who are on my nephew's case. They have 27 wrongfully convicted.
Wow. That's wrong.
Survivors. Okay? 27. And even now, the judge when we go to court, sometimes says to my nephew's attorney, oh, I don't want to hear about what you did.
And that's sad.
You know, well, how you want to hear about innocent American citizens? We need to bring them home.
Yes.
Okay, even the state prosecutor, I have documents, court documents showing that the state prosecutor, the only thing that had my nephew arrested was when the state prosecutor perjured herself. And when we went to try to have his case dropped, okay, the attorney said to the judge, the state is right here. The state prosecutor perjured herself. We have the records here that shows that what she said, she perjured herself. And my nephew was still convicted to 46 years. Nothing ties into this case. And there's so many cases like this. I've been going to court for 13 years for my nephew. My nephew went to Minnesota to give his mother, my sister, a kidney, and he was wrongfully arrested by this evil man that's collecting a pension off of the citizens' taxpaying money.
And where's your sister at right now today?
And she passed away.
Wow.
This is Forberg, another name that you know well
Forberg.
about. Brian Forberg.
Hi.
Did he address your question?
Oh,
No,
I
he
just
did.
wanted to
Let
know.
him address the question.
Yeah.
Get after her. Let him address your question. I'm asking you, did he address your question?
Well, I
She didn't ask the question.
Oh, okay.
And we gotta make sure y'all
So
restrict to these questions.
what do you feel can be done in cases, so many cases like this, 27 from these two detectives alone?
And what can you do about her nephew?
Well, you just said there's so many cases, that's why we have, the integrity unit. And we'll continue on that, and see who we can put there, and we're gonna examine each and every case. I'll be involved at looking at each and every one. Also, I don't know the specifics, but you just outlined what has happened in this case, and that's all I can tell you right now. I don't know why the judge said certain things, and what the state's attorney or the other individual had said in
State prosecutor.
in this case. So, we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melba Brown, and I just pray that we vote for you. You really, help the wrongly convicted. I don't know if you heard about my brother's case, but he do have a lawyer, and I guess we should just submit the medical paper. But I just want to know, do you have a business card? Because I have a situation. As being a U.S. citizen, an African-American woman, you know that they attacked me. So I want to know, do you have a business card?
Yeah, we do. We'll do that.
We're gonna give our business card, and there are other things on the table to contact his office. One of the guys that's been plaguing our city is a dude named James O'Brien. Me, Cordell Williams, the brother George Anderson are at least 3 people in this room that are free to have him in contact. This woman, her son, was beaten to a confession by James O'Brien. Mr. James O'Brien worked directly under John Burge. He's pled the fifth in multiple civil cases. He pled the fifth in front of special prosecutors. He's been involved in I don't know how many exonerated cases that eventually became exonerated. Her son is still suffering in prison on some faulty junk science and a statement that James O'Brien put together to make it a crime. Please introduce yourself to this nominee. This is his mother right here. She gonna tell you.
My name is Stephanie Black. My son's name is Stanley Gardner, B70903. I remember that number like my social security number because this is how I have to relate to my son sometimes. But yes, he had been in jail now for 22 years.
Wow.
And those O'Brien is one that beating my son into a confession. And I need to know how O'Brien is going to be prosecuted.
Well, first of all, I know what you're saying. On each of the cases that are currently pending and under review, I want to take a hard look at it. Hopefully your son is under review in that office, and I will look at it. Okay? I don't know all of the facts and what needs to be done, or taking a look at some of the same people that have been involved in multiple wrongful convictions. All right. I have some thoughts on what we need to do going forward and dealing with the past. So.
Okay, hey Bob, nice to see you, and I appreciate you coming out in the hood, because we call this the hood this way.
I'm here all the time, so.
I got 3 questions, but it's all within the same, and it's like facts, because I'm here today as a concerned citizen and a loved one of people who's been wrongfully convicted and that's still fighting for their innocence, right? I'm a part of the organization as well, but I can't speak on behalf of my organization today. But the fact of the matter is, I know that when you come into office, that you have the powers to convict people that does crimes. And speaking on these officers that's being forced to retire when we call them out on the news, when they're being exposed for their corruption, and then you got some that haven't made the news yet, but I will be making the news about the other one that's still on the force. Superintendent Snelling and the FBI just gave this man a plaque for being on a task force. And he has 27 people in jail, 2 of them being mine, that's been wrong for over a decade. And they make it seem like he's just a good scenario, and he's not. My question would be, when you get in office, how soon will you be put forth the effort of convicting these officers that's done crimes? Like, they're humans. I say it all the time. They bleed the same blood that we bleed. You bleed the same blood that we bleed. The presidents bleed the same blood
And the
that
crooked
we
judge.
bleed. No one should be exempt from being held accountable to the full extent like you would do a regular civilian. These officers are being protected by so many different laws, and you have the power to speak on it. And saying enough is enough. You do the crime, you need to do the time, just like we do. There's and a lot of wrongful convictions will stop if these officers are being held accountable. There's no accountability. So I want to know, would that be a focus of yours to hold people who's doing crimes, not civilians, but the officers and the state's attorneys that's going to be in your office, because they all play a part in kidnapping our loved ones who's been wrong. That's a crime. Kidnapping is a crime, and everyone who has a part in that should be held accountable.
Well, a few hours ago, I was interviewed by a Sun-Times reporter on public corruption, and I said, you know, the current unit, they've lost track in the 4 years. I campaigned on, and it says it there that I am going to go after public corruption. Public corruption includes what you're just talking about. That is one of the pillars that we have to establish, and public and private. And you know, we always think about the elected politician, whatever, but no, it's all of the employees at the same time. So I am going to beef up that unit and make sure we have good people in that unit and going after the people that are committing those
Well, I
crimes.
appreciate that.
Would you speak on
But
this?
they're gonna try to come after you.
Yeah.
So I hope you're not afraid of that. Like, they're gonna try to come after you for doing the right thing.
And I said to the reporter on day 1, but I said, give me a couple of days, just so you know, because we've got a lot of work in that office that has to be redone.
Would you speak on?
I want to make a comment about what Jasmine said.
Yeah.
These detectives have left carnage everywhere they went. Recently in the Jackie Wilson case, the same special prosecutors charged in county jail money to prosecute these cases of people who already been exonerated or let out or convictions been vacated. 2 prosecutors got sent to the ARDC for committing perjury on the witness stand.
And
So
what
that's just how many people is willing to fall on the knife for these guys. So what she's saying is, it's not just facts, it's clear evidence that these individuals are willing to fall on the knife for these detectives. They're willing to get on the street stand and lie for these detectives. And technically, threatening their license is not like all that can be done. Now, I don't know if you would be willing to pledge to indict these detectives, but I will say that Lisa Mannigan did take an approach to this matter. Lisa Mannigan is the reason why John Burge got indicted.
Okay.
Because she wrote a letter to Fitzgerald explaining to them the evidence that she had seen when her office was appointed special prosecutor over this issue for the small number of years that she had been. And then that's when John Burge got indicted. What we tired of is this. We can't get nobody indicted for doing nothing else.
That's right.
But people in power can say, hey, listen, I found something here that I think that you need to investigate. You know what I'm saying? I'm on a local level, it's almost like suicide for me to dive into this issue directly. But you have the power and the resources and the immunity ability to investigate this matter and get individuals to say what they know and what they don't know. I don't have power to twist their arms. So basically, in conjunction with her question is, if you investigate this situation as you have been outside that office without those resources,
Right.
and you do find these things, we will be expecting people in power to do what Lisa Mannigan did. Refer that evidence to the FBI, to the U.S. Attorney.
Please.
That has nothing to do with you personally prosecuting, but it does have something to do with you finding crimes and asking somebody with the resources and the capability to investigate these crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the same evidence that George Ryan did, who was the death penalty opponent that caused him to let all the guys off death row.
Mm-hmm.
This man was in favor of the death penalty. But when he actually sat down and read these documents and saw this stuff for himself, it changed his mind.
That's right.
A republic, might I add you.
And the initiation beyond the degree too. But
I had a comment on
beyond the degree.
This question, not comment.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Janice Berno, and my brother has been locked up for 26 years
Showing that mercy.
for something that Governor Pritzker in 2021 on the House Bill
Take your time.
3653 found that it's not even a crime. If the same thing happened today, he couldn't be charged for anything. He's serving a natural life sentence.
He needs to be
My,
released.
and we're we went to the clemency board a couple months ago, and the petition is actually sent to the governor, but the governor doesn't have a time limit. The attorney says that it can go anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 years.
Longer than that.
Pardon me?
It can go longer than that, Queen. Them clemencies.
So, what we, my question is, and in the clemency hearing, State's Attorney's Office said that we recommend that he not be released.
That's what they are.
So, so I want to know that if you as State's Attorney, I mean, all the evidence and everything, okay, we went through all, and every time my brother's gotten back, he filed his own petition, not an attorney. And at what point does, like this brother says, his release was rescinded? Which point does the State's Attorney's Office finally say, we've taken this man through years of, taking away years of his life, okay, let it go. We're gonna stop trying to reincarcerate.
At what point does that happen? Is with you as state's attorney, what, would you let your office continue to file these petitions to lock people back up?
Well, I think at what point is, it could happen right away.
I'm sorry.
Because what you're saying, sometimes people should not be waiting that long. The approach that you're talking about, the state's attorney has to be diligent in safeguarding the civil rights. That's what they do, even on the defendant. So in a sense, as I said, we represent the victim and we represent the defendant. And we have to ensure a fair trial, and even after the fact. From the facts that you were just telling me, there's a lot that I'd like to sit down and learn from you even further, and if you can grab a card, maybe we can talk sometime more on this situation, because I do want to hear about it, okay?
Okay, also,
Please.
what happens with you as state's attorney? What can be done because, as we all know, people go to court and before the trial, the judge will say, or during the first parts of the trial, well, you can cop out, right? Then they deny it, they constantly say, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. And then the state's attorney will tell them, if you don't cop out, they can increase the sentence 4 times. Instead of 10 years, you
I'm
get
well
40
aware of
years.
that situation.
In other words,
Yeah.
two things she's talking about. One is, Cook County Jail is known as a pressure cook. Okay? And what they do is, they threaten you to tell you how much time they're going to give you if you don't take a particular amount of time. The intimidation comes from a person telling you something without it being adjudicated. How do the judge know how much time he's going to give you and you ain't been found guilty? And how does the prosecutor know how much time they're going to give you and there ain't been no medication set forth? So in other words, she's saying, are you going to run a pressure cooker bully campaign to get people to cop out for crimes when they're saying that they want to go to trial, they didn't do the crime?
Well, I just had a situation where I knew if we went to trial, it would not be a good result. It would not be a good result. But we were offered a second chance program on it. And even though my defendant kept saying, I think he finally thought about it and said, I'm going to take the second chance. So he did. So to say that we're going to pressure somebody into it, if you don't plead, we're going to increase the time, we're going to recommend the top sentence, I think it's just a bullying tactic, and we shouldn't be allowed.
That's right.
Good afternoon, everyone. Many of you know me in here. I've been fighting probably longer than most of you years old. And it's a lonely fight. The kind of fight he's fighting, many of the brothers that we've been in here with. We had to learn the law inside, and we had to have the support. Well, the women in my community was the most supportive, the mothers, the grandmothers, and everybody. It's an overwhelming situation where we don't get up and do nothing. The same effort we put into partying and doing all the other things that we do, we should put that same effort. When I came home 18 years ago, me and the Nation of Islam, along with some other civil rights organizations, we came down to the county, Cook County Courthouse, 100 deep, dressed in suits. For any brother that went to trial. And people, you talk about the Birds case, only reason Lisa Madigan did that is because she was already condemned by the United Nations. Because my brother Anthony Holmes, Daryl Cannon, and many others who was the first people who was tortured at that time, they led the fight for this here. And along with myself, 80% of the people out there are because of me. People versus Satan. I spent all my time, from 14 years old, faced death row twice, and spent 30 years in there. And now I'm finally in the civil process of it. But you don't win nothing unless you fight. But we need to galvanize what he's doing here right now, what these other brothers doing. We need to come together and pick who we want to be in the office that's going to give us a fighting chance. You already know the other person ain't going to do it, because she already sent the person down the river. This is the only man that I ever supported for office since I've been home. The reason I did it, because I saw what he did on the west side when I came home, and then after his battle with fight with cancer and had to leave the scene. But since he's been back, he got 3 things to stop injustice. Only 3. Integrity, honor, and accountability.
That's right.
We haven't done like other communities up north. We haven't held nobody accountable.
Exactly.
Huh? While we looking at them other people, we got to realize some of the same people that look like us, you may be my color, but you're not my kind.
That's right.
You don't know my people. You understand what I'm saying? So we got a chance here to put somebody in office, and yeah, we're gonna meet some opposition. So what? We met it in slavery. We met it in Jim Crow. We met it in civil rights. Don't give a damn about meeting the opposition. What we want is people that are gonna be in the office that's gonna represent the interests of everyone.
That's right.
And have an open door policy where we can't go in. And he has shown me that I helped Kim Foss get in office. You know what she promised me? She said, John, you won't be a part of the integrity unit. What is the integrity unit? It is the people that go in and investigate these cold cases. Now I had the recommendation of 3 universities. I had Northwestern, I had Jim Block, I had local law. You think I made it to the office? You know what they told me? It was complicated. What the hell is complicated about taking my damn life? Right? But see, I ain't letting none of that hold me back.
I know, but I'm just saying.
And I got an organization too. It's called the Saving Files. And we want to put the innocence to on. But we must support each other. As if we gonna get any of this what we want, we got to change our mindset of how we approach these situations. Don't matter what organization you represent, Democrat, Republican, or whatever it is, we want the person that have integrity and honor and keep their word to us. That's the bottom line. You can't answer all the questions right now. But what he can do is empower people like us when he get in office so we can help our own situation. We need to go pay the government a visit. But we need to go like this. I just took a bus tour to Spring.